Hi, this is Krista Moore, and welcome live with the Women for Nikki interview series. And I have a great opportunity to talk to a lot of women in leadership throughout the country, and especially focused on the Women for Nikki network and the coalition. So I have a champion today. I get to share with you my new friend, and also Jennifer Nassour. Welcome. I mean, we're so glad that you're here today to talk about why Nikki, but you come with a ton of experience, right? You have been a former chair for RNC in Massachusetts. You're a regional chair for Women for Nikki for the Northeast. And now you just took over a leadership role for Nikki Haley in Massachusetts. So glad you could take a few minutes, say hello.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Krista. It's awesome that you do this.
And you've got a great podcast, The Political Manifesto.
Thank you. Thank you.
Check it out. Hey, first off, I just want to hear from you. Tell us, like passionately from your heart, why Nikki Haley for president for 2024?
So, Krista, thank you so much. As you said, I have a ton of experience. I've been in the political realm for over 30 years. I can't believe I have to say that because it definitely ages me. But I have been, and I've seen some of the best, most amazing candidates, politicians, elected officials out there. But when Nikki started campaigning, and I've been watching her career since 2012, even earlier, 2011. And when she became governor of South Carolina, and we're the same age, and I just was so amazed by the work that she was doing. And she's a mom, and she's a wife of a combat veteran. I mean, she's the daughter of immigrants. She kind of has everything that I'm looking for in a new generation leader. And so when it came time to jump on board with the campaign and to volunteer for the campaign, absolutely 100%. There was no question in my mind.
Yeah.
Because as a former party chair, I had that experience of finding candidates that had the best mix of everything to kind of make the best political candidate cake out there.
Right. You know, what's really cool with what your story resonates with me, because it's kind of like just a collection of everything that you've been working for practically your entire life. And now you get to do it on the Nikki Haley campaign. So she's aligning 100% to your values, and you're able to get out there and help motivate and inspire other people to follow Nikki Haley, and let's get behind her and let's get her into the White House.
Absolutely. Because look, I think that there are so many things that are important that go into having someone who's running for office, who's representing us. And look, I always botch what Ronald Reagan said, but essentially what he said is we don't have to agree 100% of the time. If we agree 80% of the time, that's great, right? I mean, and the example I use is you probably don't agree with your kids 100% of the time, I'm sure is, sure as heck that they're not agreeing with you 100% of the time. I know my kids are not agreeing with me even like 60% of the time. So why would you think that you would agree with a politician, someone you don't know, someone that doesn't share your DNA, didn't grow up in your home 100% of the time? What you need to look at is their values. Are they in check? Their morals, are they in check? Their competency, their experience, what they are going to provide for us. And right now, and Nikki says it all the time, the world is on fire and we have a country to save. And I think that she is the right person to save us right now and put the country on a very good direction, positive direction, and forward-thinking direction.
And we talked too, often you're speaking with women in politics and helping them determine whether this is going to be their career path. And experience is critical. It's experience, it's character, and it really is leadership. When you talk about experience, why don't you just share for me, what are the top things that you really look at in Nikki Haley as someone that rises to the top in terms of experience?
Yeah. So one of the things I always loved as chair is someone would come in and say, I was brushing my teeth this morning and then I was brushing my hair and I thought I would make a great United States Senate candidate. I'm like, oh, really? I'm glad that you thought that. But maybe you should run for school board or the legislature or something else before you dive into that. What she has done, Nikki has been a state legislator. She has been a governor. So she understands the policy experience, the legislative experience, but then she also understands the managerial experience that comes along with being the executive in the state and holding that office and being able to bring all parties together, listen to everyone. And that's what she does amazingly. And she took those skills and then she brought them to the UN. By the way, she was appointed by Trump, who just sung her praises all the time about how wonderful she was. And she was UN ambassador. And in that position, she got to see so much of overseas, of what goes on abroad, and really understand what is important to America and our allies and how to keep us safe. And so those experiences together, on top of the fact that the woman is also an accountant. And I don't know, Trump added on $8 trillion to our economy, and not in the good way, but on our kids' backs. And we need Nikki in there to fix this and right this ship for our kids, our grandkids, and generations to come.
Right. And like you said at the beginning, let's add her other life experience to this, right? I mean, the admiration that we can have in her as a mom and as a legal immigrant growing up in a small town in South Carolina, and her being the wife of a combat veteran, and really understanding what it's like to have teenagers. Her daughter just recently got married, has a job. They're looking at the housing market and how complicated that is. She has a college student who has to deal with the liberal, woke universities. And so it's just her understanding and her life experiences, pile that on with her political experience. She's a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely. I mean, and that is really, and that's what I find also different. When I talk to candidates, a lot of times when I'm working on fundraising plans with them, I say, easiest thing to do, go to your Christmas list. When I get that blank stare, that stare of someone who really doesn't have any friends, that actually concerns me, right? Whereas she has had so many life experiences. And one of the wonderful things about women candidates is that so many of us women in our daily life, we talk to countless number of people, right? If you sit and think, how many people did you talk to today? Did you talk to the Uber driver? Did you talk to a doorman? Did you talk to your kids? Did you talk to the barista at the coffee shop? Did you talk to your dry cleaner? Did you talk to your landscaper, your next door neighbor, the person walking the dog, mom on the sidelines, right? Like go on and on, the person you drop your kids off with at daycare. I mean, we talk to so many people. And so the fabulous thing about women candidates who also have all that experience, also have that level of competency, and also have that level of intellectual understanding, is that that network naturally comes along and you bring into your job as a legislator, as an executive, as a UN ambassador, all of those beautiful life experiences that we have.
Well, I want to ask you more specifically about the article that got a lot of attention this week that you wrote for the New York Post. And I think it was probably the subject line that really grabbed people's attention, which is Donald Trump has a woman problem, right? But you're talking about the woman problem as he's losing a lot of the female votes. Let's talk about that for a moment. And I'd like you to share with us, what are some of the highlights from that article that really resonated with people? That, hey, wait a minute, let's take a look at this. He's losing the female votes.
Yeah, I mean, so he's losing the female votes. A recent Quinnipiac poll showed that Donald Trump has about 36% support from women, whereas and that's 5 points down in a month. And so where are the women going? They're going to Joe Biden. Joe Biden has 58%. That is just absolutely remarkable to me, because I can't imagine ever voting for Joe Biden. A vote for Joe Biden is a vote for Kamala Harris. Right. Put that aside. Donald Trump's problem is not just his personal life. The fact that he's been married 3 times, the fact that 2 of his 3 wives have been naturalized once they got married to him, the fact that he talks about, 2016, who could forget the Hollywood interview where he was talking about grabbing women by their crotches. I'm sorry, ladies, like, I don't know about you, but I don't want someone who is a disgusting pig to be in my life. I don't want my daughters dating someone like that, who is disrespectful to women, who makes lewd remarks. I just don't want that. And I can't imagine most women do. And when you see Donald Trump and when you see what he said about Nikki Haley, I found this completely offensive. But on the New Hampshire primary night, instead of getting up on the stage and giving a gracious speech and thanking Nikki for being in the race and making it even more exciting, he had a phenomenal opportunity to show himself as a statesman. Instead, what was the first thing he did?
Making fun of her, right?
Making fun of her, making fun of her. Oh, and look at her in that dress. I think she thinks that's a fancy dress, but is it? Really? I mean, come on. That well, as a woman is so offensive, you know, along with everything else. The way he calls her bird brain. And so I couldn't help myself but put together this piece.
You know, so when you think about the female vote and him losing the female vote and Biden potentially growing in the female vote, talk about where Nikki fits into this, because sometimes I like scratch my head and I'm thinking, the female voter, we know that we're not voting for Nikki because she's a female. We're voting for her because we believe that she is the most qualified for this position. But for me, her being a female and the experiences that come along with that, and having compassion, empathy, integrity, and a lot of the female leadership qualities, for me, that's a huge bonus on top of it all, right? And I have a hard time understanding, well, why don't all women see this? Why don't all Republican women or independent women who align with her policies see that having a woman in the White House is exactly what we need now?
Well, you want my honest answer?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to hear from you.
I mean, I agree. All of those things are part of, again, that's like my, you know, I talk about it as a political cake, right? Everything that she has from a professional standpoint and her experience, and the fact that she's brilliant makes her the perfect cake. The fact that she's a woman is the icing and cherry on top for me, right? Mm-hmm. And so because of the compassion and because of the understanding and because of the collaboration and wanting to change things for the better in the view of what she has going forward, not from the rearview mirror.
Right.
But unfortunately, I think what happens still in society is that women are voting how their husbands want them to vote. They hear it. They don't want to challenge it. They don't feel like they know enough. And listen, and I say this with, this is in no disrespect to anyone out there who is doing this, but women need to be asked 7 times to run for office. A man wakes up, brushes his hair, and says, I'm going to run for US Senate. Mm-hmm. And so that's the difference, is that I think women still feel like they are not capable of making this decision by themselves. They haven't read enough and they haven't taken the time, because quite honestly, whether you are taking care of elderly parents and you're working, or you have kids, or you're in the sandwich generation, or you're older yourself and you're taking care of your kids' kids, you're always doing something. And so it is very difficult to take the time, and not that men don't have this issue as well, but it mostly falls on the women, where we're running so fast, you don't have enough time to really gather all the information. So you're voting the way your friends are telling you, the way your spouse is telling you. I think that's one part. I think another part of it is inherently, you know, it's almost like we run into this where there's one woman who could do it, right? Hillary Clinton wanted to bust through that glass ceiling, but I'm telling you, if it was Hillary Clinton, she would have sealed that glass ceiling back up again and not let anyone else rise to the top. We don't have that with Nikki. With Nikki, she will bring everyone up. And so I think that there's a little bit of that, a little bit, I don't want to say jealousy, but a little bit of the, why does she get to do it and why don't I get to do it? And so, you know, what I say is we need women out there voting for this spectacular woman. Because if you think that you should have an opportunity, that your kid should have an opportunity, that your grandkids should have opportunities, the only person out there out of these 3 that are out there running as major names is Nikki Haley. She's the only one that's going to support you. Joe Biden had a 40-year career where the first 30 years were spent where he was inappropriately touching women and getting away with it. Not too long ago, he was also inappropriately touching women. I don't know if anyone ever saw the Eva Longoria hands on her breast little act, right? And then you know what Trump is like, $83 million. I'm sorry, that was a jury of his peers. You may think that the judicial system or the justice system is wronging him, but that was a jury of his peers that told him he owed her $83 million. Mm-hmm. And so, I say, women, wake up, go to the polls and go vote for Nikki, because she is the best thing that you're going to ever see. And we need to get her out there and elected.
Right, absolutely. And I come from this personally as a grandmother, and both you and I are spending a lot of time investing in the Women for Nikki Coalition. You'll be leading Massachusetts, which is a huge responsibility and very exciting. But it's almost like, why do we invest our time and our energy into this? It's because we believe in it, and it's the best investment in time and money that we can make for our children and future generations. And we've just got to get the word out there so that other women recognize that and get on the stick and get out there and vote in the primaries.
1000%. And I will say this. Number one, I know here in Massachusetts, about 22% of the electorate always votes in primaries. That's it. And so that 22% actually decides who shows up on your election day ballot. And so I would like to, really reinforce that you need to get out and vote in the primary. And look, one of the things, and the Republican Party has done a really bad job at messaging. And I heard Trump the other day also bashing early voting and voting by mail-in ballots. But ladies, we get so busy. My day today started at 6 o'clock this morning, and it's 6 o'clock now, and right. I have not stopped at all. And some of the things I thought I was going to do had to get derailed for tomorrow. You don't know what your day entails. So if you can vote early, go vote early. If you need to do an absentee ballot, get in your absentee ballot. If your kids are away at college or school someplace, or they're in the military, make sure that they get an absentee ballot. Because we are in a very precious position right now. And precious isn't meant in a good way. It's meant as a very strenuous, tenuous, right, scary position. And I think that we have right now to make a difference. And Nikki Haley is the only person who, again, is going to bring us forward in a positive direction.
Hey, I'm going to leave it on that. You and I are in complete agreement, and we just need the world to hear it, right? We need the world to get with the program.
Absolutely.
And Nikki is the best candidate, and let's get out, vote early. And I was going to say vote often, but we know that doesn't work in the system. Vote early and vote for Nikki Haley. Let's go, Nikki. Thank you.
Thank you, Krista.